Well, hello, everybody. This is Bishop Michael Hunn, and this is a weekly update for the Diocese of the Rio Grande. And I want to make sure that you know Ana Reza, who is our Diocese of the Rio Grande Border Chaplain, and also Sondra Jones, who is a deacon of the Diocese of the Rio Grande. And both of y'all live in El Paso. And I wanted to have a conversation with you both about the work you've been doing on the ground. Everybody has been aware of, and we've all been watching the ICE raids that have been taking place in Los Angeles. And we are aware of the kind of deportation quotas that are driving ICE to look for people in different places. Tell me what's going on in El Paso. Maybe Ana, let's start with you. Give me the big picture.
So we are both part of, I created a rapid response signal group, just because after June 20, we were just so worried that stuff was going to start happening. And I'm grateful I did, because somebody in that group who works with lawyers told us that they were contacted by the security at the federal building, that something was going on, that they started noticing that people would leave their immigration court date and they were surrounded by agents. So that right when I heard that, I just headed to the courthouse and I saw it for myself.
Yeah,
It
so
was
let's make sure everybody remembers like what we're talking about here. These are not people who are here illegally. These are not people who have snuck across the border. These are people who are here legally claiming asylum, and they have a court date, right? They're obligated by the law and the terms of their being in the country to check in with the immigration court. Am I right about that?
Yes. Yeah, so they're showing up to their court date, and this is something that's started happening all over the US, that suddenly ICE would show up, and the judge would dismiss the case. And Sondra has been there. She's actually been at court. I've done more like accompanying families as they left the court, and then also on the ground as the trains, and then just organizing. That's one thing we're trying to organize, the community itself, and then our, Episcopalians. And right now I just got off a call with Border Hope to try to organize people of faith, because yesterday me and Sondra had a chance to do some praying with people and how necessary it is. But yeah, so that's what's happening is people are going dressed up to their court date, they show up, and then this judge dismisses their case. Once they do that, then it opens the doors for ICE arresting them. But that hasn't been the case all the time. I mean, we've seen people who have given them another, the judge gives them, like there was another man I met at the detention El Paso Processing Center who had someone they knew picked up. And he said that the judge gave them till September 9th, their next court hearing, but they still got arrested. And so it will be in detention, that if it gets to September, where they will be. So the ICE agent says, you're going to be seeking asylum in detention, but you're already in the process of deportation. So that could happen, that cannot happen. I mean, it just depends. Now they're in the courts as they're in detention. And right now detention centers are overflowing. I mean, they're at their capacity, and we're starting to hear complaints about, if you're in a place and it's overflowing, it gets very ugly, room wise, cleanliness, bathroom, all that stuff. And that's happening right now because of these arrests. It's the detention centers are going up.
So you were talking about how, on a part of what you've been doing is accompanying people to their court dates. Tell me a little bit about that. I want people to really understand the human stories of how this whole thing works. So in terms of the volunteering that you're doing. So
one of the things we've noticed, so like I said, the first 2 days when I was going, it was really just myself, because nobody really knew. And then after that, there's different organizations that have stepped in and been there like from 8 to 3 every morning. I had to leave and go to a pilgrimage. But so when we started seeing that, one thing is, so you see the people out in the lobby waiting. That's one way. And yesterday we were able to talk to them and pray with them. We asked them if it was okay to pray with them. And then they go up and then they have their court date. And so what we've been able to do is just as they're leaving, and even yesterday we did it a little more formal, and I want to start doing it and getting some clergy or just people of faith doing this. We walked in front as they were walking out, And I just told Sondra, it's something we had done at this pilgrimage we just had, Migration with Dignity pilgrimage. In the prayer vigil, we were singing, "We Shall Overcome." So I said, let's sing a song. And someone said, how about that one? Let's do it. So as we were walking out, we were softly singing, "We Shall Overcome." And again, just being this presence of, because a lot of these people really do not. Some of the lawyers are they're coming from Odessa, Midland, Albuquerque. Some of the lawyers might have told them it's 50-50, especially in here in El Paso, Las Americas or Estrellas, that you might get detained. So they're not, but some know. And so we hear people leaving, cars downstairs. We had a couple that got separated from their children because their children were somewhere else. And so we just walk with people in this sense of tension. So when we met yesterday with the families and prayed with them, they knew they had already gotten a flyer from some, other organizations downstairs, information that they might get detained. But once they leave that court and they realize that their case has been dismissed, then that possibility becomes stronger. And so you start seeing the anxiety. Like there was a man that was just walking back and forth, feeling caged in. So it's prayer, just praying with people and being, we had one of our colleagues that we work with, Douglas Winter, who did go with someone. And he was like, I need people to be there. I'm going to walk with them. They've asked me to be in the court. And that's really where we started doing also the court monitoring, because you can go in again. And I think it's so helpful when Deacon Sondra goes because she has a collar on. And when we prayed yesterday with the families downstairs, I told them she's going to be there present, and praying, and it just adds another layer of that light that God calls us to be, and support and comfort when people are really in a desperate situation and don't know what's going to happen, where they're going to go, and where their future holds, because they've never been detained. They've been released and been working. They
Right.
have driver's license, they have IDs, and now they find themselves in this situation that is, it's heartbreaking. And to see families, mom, dad, two kids, mom, dad, mom. I encountered this woman in the bathroom who had an infant in her arms and a little girl, and they were detaining her. I didn't know what to tell her, but I said, "Is everything okay?" And she just had this blank stare of, "No, I don't know what my future looks like."
So
I didn't.
just to clarify the legal situation, they're coming to their court date for a follow-up on their asylum process, right? So they've claimed asylum, like you say, they've been here legally, they've been working, they've got driver's licenses, their kids are, getting settled, like they're in the process of settling here in the United States legally as asylum seekers. As a part of being here legally and doing everything the right way, they're asked to come to the court to check in, right? So they come to the court checking in. They don't know now because of the way things are going. Normally they would come and the judge would hear their case and then they would either, but now it sounds like when the judge dismisses them, then they are here illegally as soon as the judge dismisses their asylum claim. Am I right about that? And that
Yes,
changes
and
the status and makes them vulnerable to deportation all of a sudden like that in the courtroom. Am I right?
they have, yes, you're right. And they have the right to appeal and have like a 30-day appeal, but they're not honoring that. It's just like, and the judge might give it to them, but once they're out there, ICE already comes in with a list of people that are in that list that will be detained. Yeah, it confuses. We're trying to get informed ourselves because that's kind of confusing that even before the court date, there's already a list of who's going to be detained. And there are people this morning, what I heard, there was a family that was released. So not everyone, but some days, I don't, Sondra, have you been in there when some days it's 33 people and those 33 people were
Yes.
detained?
Yeah, that was the experience yesterday, was
So
everyone was detained.
sounds like Ana, you've been outside the courtroom. Sondra, you've been inside the courthouse. Tell us all about that and the
Sure.
agents that are there. Tell us about your experience.
Sure. So the courts happen here on the seventh floor. So it's kind of an atrium situation where there's a big open center, and we can see the court monitors gather. We tend to gather together. We're looking at the schedules, the court schedules that are posted for each judge on the bulletin board. We're to see how many people to expect. We're waiting outside. They've started admitting people into the courtroom if there are no unaccompanied minors. So you can sign up to actually be inside the courtroom. So there tends to be this this dynamic of ICE agents on one side of the building and us on the other. It's an uncomfortable situation. And then there's people in the interior of the court waiting, the people who are waiting. And you know, the hard part, the thing that is so difficult is to watch them walk in and then watch their expressions fall as they realize that they are going to be detained, and then the tears. So as Ana described, she was there when the whole court tends to end at one time. So all the people come out of a courtroom at the same time, and ICE is there waiting to take them. And what happens there is when, as Ana described, when we began to pray and sing with them. And my experience has been, it's not all South American people. There's people from all over the world. We had a Senegalese man that there was no way to be able to communicate with him. There was no translator. And here's where the conversation began about how we need people inside the detention centers who can speak to these folks. Now it feels like as these cases progress through the system and as people are being detained, we need people to visit them and be present to them in the detention centers now. So like Ana said, this has been happening now for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks probably, since we became aware of this situation, and we're just wrapping our heads around it, right? So different organizations have come in and begun to be involved. Border Immigration Law and Justice Center is going to provide some training on how to be a court witness, which I'm attending. Ana's attending tomorrow. We're trying to just wrap our heads around what the need is and where we go next and how do we serve these people in the best way possible. The experience is intense on several levels. First of all, the people and what they're facing detention. That is, it's hard to communicate to them that they're probably going to be detained, and for them to recognize that they really seem to come to court dates. They show up with hope, that their case is going to be heard in a fair and just way. And they walk out of that courtroom crestfallen. We see their grief. And then on the other side, it's this, the us and them feeling with the agents who are there. And as yesterday, I just felt like I couldn't just stay on one side, and I had to go and speak with these people who were there, the ICE agents and the FBI agents that were also there, and just let them know that, I don't, as a Christian, I see them as a precious child of God, just like everyone in that building. And I let them know, I pray for you too. We're praying for you too. No matter how you feel about this situation, we're praying for you. So it's just the proximity is very close. It can feel very tense at moments.
And Sondra, tell me a little bit about the agents. How are they dressed?
Oh, yes, they are. When we first started going to visit to witness, they were dressed in street clothes. They were kind of hard to distinguish, but now they're dressed in their full face masks. They are hiding their identity, and perhaps it's and I know I've been there 3-4 times over the past few weeks, and it seems like as more people are gathering at the courthouse, they're getting more covered up. But yes, their faces are covered, but they're in plain. Most of them are in plain clothes. The FBI agents were in full gear. The DHS that showed up later yesterday were in full gear, and they were there apparently to monitor the situation. And one of those DHS agents came out and talked to us about how the court wanted to limit the number of people that can be on the 7th floor at any given time because of safety concerns. Again, yesterday was a little different because there was a sizable and boisterous demonstration happening outside the courthouse. So it started out very quiet with 2 of us there, right? A couple weeks ago, and now there's this presence. So as the presence increases, so does the tension, and there's need for us to be present, even in the midst of the tension and difficulty of the situation.
And to honor the humanity of everyone involved, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm about if I'm doing a job where I need to hide my face because I don't want people to know my identity while I'm doing that job. It makes me think about we do a lot of work with military chaplains,
Yes.
and the soldiers that the chaplains look after, and there's a term called moral injury, which is when you are commanded to do something that your conscience objects to, and maybe this is not true for everybody. There may be ICE agents that are happy for this mission, but having worked with folks with the Border Patrol for a long time, my sense is that most of the folks got into this because they want to chase criminals, and they want to end fentanyl, and they want to stop gun trafficking and sex trafficking and that sort of thing. But to be, when the administration says we're going to go after criminals, and what we're really doing is going to the courthouse and deporting families with young children who are not here illegally, but have done everything right. I mean, it sounds like these are not people who have been detained before and they jailbroke and ran or something like that. These are people who have not been detained because they've done everything right, and they're here claiming asylum. And now the shock, which you're there to witness and to let them know that you see their humanity and that God sees their humanity, they're feeling betrayed, it sounds like, by the government and the system that they trusted. They thought they would get a fair hearing. They thought that they would be seen as a human being. And now all of a sudden, on a day, in a moment, they come for the courthouse, they're dressed up for court to make their best case, and then the judge just dismisses the case, and they're taken to detention. The one that breaks my heart is like, they left their children with someone because they, and then all of a sudden they're being detained. This kind of situation will have moral consequences for everybody in that situation. And for you all to be there on behalf of the church, saying prayers, singing, just helping everybody in there know that their humanity is being honored and that God is present. I want to thank you both for your witness.
We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, we'll go. We shall walk.
one thing I love about Deacon Sondra is she's always, I'm a deacon. I'm called to work and serve out in the world. And just a couple, I want to just share a couple of stories. One is a mom and her 18-year-old Cuban daughter. They were from Cuba and they got separated and they had to deal with, we were right there as they were crying and clinging on. And the thought is that in our government is because she's 18, she's able to handle that. And I think the judge, even someone who was at the court said, the judge said, you're 18-year-old enough, but are we ever old enough to be in a detention jail? I mean, we always need our family and we always need our community. And the other was this man who came to
Wait, Ana, before you
came
move, let me just be clear. What I'm hearing you say is, so there's a mother and a daughter. They went to court together. They came together, and then they were separated, right? So now the 18-year-old is sent off to a different place than her mother is, and that's just horrific. Just as you say, who is ready to be separated like that? Even if you're 18, the law may say you're an adult, but you're not ready to handle that by yourself. I'm not even sure the mother was able to handle that by herself, right? I mean, it's just, anyway, heartbreaking. But you have some other stories.
And then just it was heartbreaking. And then the other story was this man who came. It was his boss. They work in Odessa, and it was his boss, and he brought his worker, and they detained him. And then later on, I heard they were having conversations with the ICE, and the guy was I know you guys have a job to do. He said, but this is such a good person. I mean, I'm his boss, he said. I brought him all the way over here because he's a good person and he does great work. We're losing someone that's good. And he got teary-eyed. I mean, this is someone that probably worked for 5 months, but he saw the value of and the passion of this young man, and that our government is not seeing of all these people. And that's what we're missing out, is that we know these are our neighbors. We've worked with them. And we know that they just come here to work and work hard and be a productive citizen in our country. That's all they're seeking. So it's heartbreaking to see this man come here driving his work all the way from Odessa. He's like, it's going to be a lonely ride back, he said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's a lonely ride for that young man. He was probably in his late 20s, but those are two stories that have stuck with me. But there's so many more, and we're learning more as we talk to people and we're present. That's why it's important when someone says, how can we help? If you're here, we'll come and be present. If you're not here, we'll look at organizations that are helping, lawyers, maybe getting support and asking people this could happen, and be prepared. Like we've always said I think be prepared because like I said, that the couple that left their children, there was another couple that was with them and they were like, yeah, their car's here, they have all their personal belongings and just afraid, like, what about their children? And we heard, I think, is one of them was a US born child and the other one wasn't. So just again, mixed families, even within these most recent people that are coming in to seek asylum.
Right. And just to underline, these are not criminals. These are not people arrested with fentanyl on them, or they're not people running guns. They're not being human trafficked. These are the people who did it the right way. And they're in the system, showing up for their court date as they were asked to do. And they're working here. Their boss is supporting them by driving them to the court date. I mean, if you're under the impression that what's going on right now is ISIS fighting crime, that's not what's happening. We're deporting people.
Not what we're seeing. Not
who
what
are
we're seeing.
here legally, and they are working, and they are families, and they're hard workers. Yeah, it's important for people to understand that. Well, so one other thing I wanted to talk to you all about is my hunch is that people seeing this throughout the Episcopal Church may want to come and help, and I want to say that we do have shelter space in El Paso. You can come and join us to work as a witness and to come and see. It is emotionally difficult work, but we believe in the risen Christ, and the place where you stay is a church where you can pray. There's a community here of faithful Episcopalians who care about both the ICE agents and the people being deported, and the judges and the attorneys and everybody involved. We understand the pinch that everybody is in, but we are here to witness and to help the country understand what's happening because of this policy that is happening. And you're welcome to come and join us. how can they contact us? What's the best way, Ana?
They could contact me either through email, which is a reza, and can find it on our website, dioceserg.org. Definitely, if you want to come visit, please do. And if where you're at, like let's say Albuquerque, but like I said, most people are coming from Albuquerque, so I don't know if that's the same thing happening. But wherever you're at, and if you're not in our diocese, and because I know a lot of people are not, they tune in to hear this message that you share with us, is find out what organizations are doing this work, or just go to the courthouse and start watching. And then you can, what we've been doing is learning about the schedules. This is stuff we didn't know about, but we kind of learn as we're going. And there's even a training now happening tomorrow, right, through another organization. And that's awesome. So continue to the value. I just talked to two faith groups, and we're gonna try to see a vigil, because like I kept thinking, if we can have people, and this, I'm inspired by what's going on in LA, inspired by the clergy that are showing up and being present, because in places of not just the migrants that are going through this trauma, the agents, the security that works there, even the staff in that building, I thought, we can offer some prayer and just say, hey, during their lunch, let's pray. I know there's a lot of protesting, and the people that show up, because we have a lot of young people that are coming that are, that know that this isn't right, but there's a lot of anger. And how do we channel that to become the best that can help our country? Because all of us want the best for our country. This is why we're here. This is why we're witnessing, because again, like I mentioned, these are people that have been working in our communities and making our communities better. I mean, I just had a young man that decided to leave. He just left at midnight, and he said, I can't handle it because people here think I'm a criminal. He got an ankle brace, and they're not criminals, and we're treating these innocent people like criminals, and they're facing, this dilemma of being seen as criminals, and it's an ugly thing to be looked at. And then the next step is then dehumanizing, and we know what happens when people are dehumanized. And so we got to be so careful. And I think this is a chance, or to stand up for what is right, the truth, because if we don't, it might be too late, because when we're out there standing up, we might get arrested and we don't have that voice anymore. That's what gets me nervous, because there is a lot of picture taking from us, and I've told the officials, look, I'm trying to wear a mask. I go, but you're taking a picture of me, and you might put my life in danger later on, not knowing right now. And I'm an innocent, just a citizen speaking out. But later on, that file of mine could put me in jail just because I stood up and spoke out for the truth. And so that kind of worries me as they do that. And I've asked them, like, please don't do that, but they have their job to do. And now I wear a mask, and but I am who I am. I'm Ana Reza, and that's, you know where to find me. I'm not trying to hide who I am. I'm just a person trying to bring the light of God to others, and asking you all to come and join us.
Yeah, well, a couple of really important things that I just want to underline that you said, because there's another action that can be taken, which is to write to your members of Congress, to write to the White House, to talk about what is happening and to protest against it. I do not think it is unreasonable for American citizens to expect their government to differentiate between criminals and workers, between people who are doing crime. I mean, if you're driving in your car and you're going to work and you have a license to drive, you should not be afraid of the police. If you're doing crime now, you should be afraid of the police, right? So I want the police out there. I want law enforcement happening, but I should not be afraid if I'm not doing anything wrong, right? And what's happening right now is, particularly if you're here as an asylum seeker, if you have a green card, if you have a Hispanic sounding surname, or you're a person of color, you are more likely to feel afraid that you're going to be stopped and questioned, or if you have a green card, that when you go to your court date, that it'll be revoked and you'll be deported. So I think it is important for us to write to our Congress people and say, we demand as American citizens that the government differentiate between criminals and non-criminals. I think that's an important point that can be made. And also that we take responsibility to make sure that the freedom of speech continues to be to be exercised. That if you're rioting and burning cars and stuff, that's crime. But if you're assembling peacefully and making your voices heard, if you are praying, if you are witnessing, if you are singing, these are not crimes. And it's important that we not, as American citizens, allow peaceful protests to be seen as criminal activity, because it's not. And I think it's really important that we underline, we are calling for peaceful protest against unjust government actions. And we can do that as the United States, right? As United States citizens, we can stand up in this moment. So I think there's a lot of things you can do. You can find the immigration court that's closest to you and get involved by going to that court as an American citizen to go and witness. If you have a group that wants to put together a rapid reaction group, Ana Reza can help you see how that is done and connect you with training that might be able to happen remotely for your group. So you can write your Congress people. You can contact Ana and she can help you with putting together a rapid reaction force to help you organize in your community. And if you'd like to come and stay with us, you can join us in this ministry. We are looking for people, lay and ordained, who are willing to come and witness and walk with people in this very vulnerable position. So if you'd like to do that, you can go to the Rio Grande Borderlands. If you just Google Rio Grande Borderlands, you'll find our website. You can find contact information there and how to get involved with us. We will continue to keep you involved and to let you know what's actually happening, because the news isn't necessarily covering this. But we want to make sure that you understand exactly what is happening in the United States and what's happening in the Diocese of the Rio Grande. Sondra, Ana, thank you for the faithful work you are doing. We will keep you in our prayers and we'll keep supporting you in the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Bishop. And thank you, Ana, for all of your hard work and for bringing this to my attention and to all of our attention.
Thank you, like I said, for the leadership in our diocese, for the Episcopalians that have come and already visit us and are open and always willing to help. And anyone who's interested, we're always welcome. All we are asking is for those that have compassion and love for all, really, like you said, for the migrants, for those working there, because we have to remember our humanity and how hard it is in this system. But grateful for all of you. Continue to pray and get involved, as Bishop has outlined, because it's our call and the time is now.